Most men spend their entire lives thinking they must impress women with money, looks, or charm. But what if I told you that the real key to attraction lies in understanding them? Invisible psychological triggers, flaws that even women themselves aren't aware of. Just like men, women also have unconscious desires, emotional sensitivities, and reactions they cannot always control. The problem is that most men don't know how to recognize or use them to their advantage. Today, we'll take a closer look at some feminine vulnerabilities that are often overlooked, psychological triggers that, once understood, will radically change the way you interact with women. 1. The power of emotional stability. Women are emotional beings, not because they are unstable, but because emotion is their way of perceiving the world. They don't just hear your words, they feel your frequency. And this is where most men fail. They try to convince her through logic, while their nervous system is silently betraying fear, insecurity, and need. A woman's attraction begins where her nervous system feels safe. Not with your looks, not with your charm, but with the calm that lives behind your eyes. Because unconsciously, every woman is scanning for one thing: emotional authority. Can this man hold me when my emotions spiral? Can he stay rooted when life burns? It's not your muscles that make her melt, it's the nervous system that doesn't flinch under emotional fire. When a woman meets a man, her mirror neurons, the cells in her brain responsible for empathy, begin to tune in to his state. If your energy wavers, she feels it as anxiety in her body. If you're calm, she begins to relax without even knowing why. This is called neural resonance, a phenomenon where two nervous systems sync. Her biology reads your emotional discipline as safety, and safety, paradoxically, is the foundation of desire. That's why emotional instability is so deadly to attraction. It's not about drama, it's about survival. A woman's primal brain evolved to avoid men who lose control because centuries ago, that kind of man meant danger, chaos, and death. You're not just losing her interest, you're triggering her evolutionary alarm system. Now look at the reverse. A man who can hold stillness in conflict becomes a psychological shelter. When she throws chaos, he absorbs it and gives back structure. When she cries, he doesn't rush to fix her, he lets her storm pass through his silence. This is the hidden polarity. Feminine emotion seeks masculine containment. It's not about suppressing your feelings, it's about holding them without letting them spill. In Jungian terms, this is called integration of the anima, when a man no longer rejects his emotional nature but commands it like a trained horse. He rides the chaos. He doesn't drown in it. That kind of man radiates peace, not because the world is calm, but because he is. Seneca called this state ataraxia, unshakable tranquility. Marcus Aurelius described it as inner citadel. To a woman, it feels like entering a sacred temple where nothing can touch her. That's why she keeps returning, not because of lust, but because in your presence, her nervous system rests. Now understand the paradox. A woman will test your calm precisely to feel it. Her emotional storms are not attacks, they are invitations to lead. If you match her chaos, you fall into her energy. If you remain composed, you pull her into yours. You become the mountain, and she, the wind that can never move it. Emotional stability is not passivity, it's spiritual dominance, the kind that doesn't shout or chase, but simply is. It's when your presence speaks before you do. She may not know why she trusts you, but her body does. Because in a world of noise, the man who is silent inside himself becomes godlike. He doesn't argue, he doesn't prove, he doesn't react, he observes. And through that observation, he wins. This is what every great philosopher tried to teach under different names. The Stoics called it reason, the Buddhists called it equanimity, Jung called it integration, and modern science calls it emotional regulation. But to women, it's simply this: he feels like peace. And peace in a chaotic world is the rarest form of power. When you master your emotions, you become the man her body remembers, not her mind. Because her mind may love many men, but her nervous system only surrenders to one, the man who cannot be shaken. 2. The attraction to the unattainable. There is attraction in the unattainable. But this truth is older than romance. It is written into the structure of the human mind. The moment something is too easy to grasp, the brain lowers its value. Desire fades not from lack, but from certainty. Because certainty kills mystery, and mystery is the oxygen of attraction. Every woman is unconsciously governed by this same psychological law, the scarcity principle. The rarer something feels, the more her brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pursuit, not possession. She doesn't crave what she has, she craves what she can almost have. That is why diamonds hypnotize us. They are just carbon, but carbon under pressure. It's not their substance that captivates us, it's their inaccessibility. And that's the secret most men never understand about women. Her attraction isn't to your presence, it's to your elusiveness. A woman's psychology evolved around the challenge of decoding emotion. When a man's soul is a mystery, her mind becomes obsessed with solving it. When he reveals everything, her instincts go silent, because there's nothing left to discover. Modern neuroscience explains this through the dopaminergic loop, the brain's reward system. Desire thrives on anticipation, not fulfillment. It's the waiting, the wondering, the not knowing that keeps her heart racing. Each unanswered question, each delayed text, each moment of uncertainty triggers small bursts of dopamine, creating the same neurochemical pattern as addiction. That is why women often fall hardest not for the man who loves them the most, but for the man whose soul they can't quite decode. He becomes a mirror for her projections, a canvas for her imagination. In his silence, she paints the fantasy of who she wants him to be. Philosophers knew this long before psychology existed. Schopenhauer said that desire is the tension between wanting and not having, that the moment we possess the object of our desire, the thrill dies and boredom begins. Nietzsche called this the divine cruelty of longing, and that is what most men never grasp. Women don't chase love, they chase emotional elevation. The man who is too eager kills that elevation. He suffocates mystery by flooding her with attention, texts, and validation. And instead of stimulating her imagination, he gives her closure. And closure is death to attraction. In contrast, the man who lives a full life outside her, whose world keeps moving even when she's not in it, becomes psychologically irresistible. Because his time now has value, his absence has weight, and his unpredictability awakens the primal chase encoded in her biology. Do not confuse mystery with manipulation. The goal is not to play games, it's to retain depth. When a man's mind and mission are larger than romance, a woman feels small in comparison, and that contrast draws her in. She doesn't want to be your world, she wants to orbit it. This is why great men through history, artists, conquerors, philosophers, were never obsessed with women. They were obsessed with their craft, and women, sensing that gravitational pull of purpose, attach themselves to that fire. Because the man who belongs to himself can never truly belong to her, and that's what makes him unforgettable. So how do you embody this? You make absence an art form. You reveal yourself like a story, chapter by chapter, not all at once. You let her wonder. You create moments of silence where her imagination must fill in the blanks. You leave room for curiosity, because curiosity is the bridge to desire. Understand this. Once a woman feels she has completely conquered you, her instincts go dormant. She doesn't stop liking you, she stops feeling you. The emotional charge fades because there is no longer tension between her wanting and her having. But when you keep a part of yourself unreachable, your thoughts, your time, your inner world, she will keep reaching endlessly. Not because she loves games, but because the mystery of you awakens the part of her that still believes in magic. To be unattainable does not mean to be cold. It means to be so full of your own life that she has to earn the right to enter it. Because the moment she feels you could live beautifully without her, that's the moment she decides she cannot live without you. 3. The silent influence of a deep voice and strong presence. One of the most underestimated psychological triggers of attraction is a deep, well-controlled voice and a strong presence. Research has shown that men with deeper voices are perceived as more confident, charismatic, and dominant. This isn't a random preference, it's deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. A deep voice unconsciously sends the message of strength, masculinity, and leadership qualities that women instinctively seek. But it's not just about your voice, your entire aura matters. Women respond positively to men who can assert their presence without coercion. Presence is what you radiate even before you speak, your posture, the way you move, and how you respond to the world. A man with this kind of strength moves with purpose, without fuss or haste. He holds her gaze without shame and speaks slowly, with control, as if every word matters. In contrast, a weak presence reveals itself through a slouched posture, nervous gestures, and a hesitant voice. All these details betray a lack of confidence, even if you're unaware of it. If you want to captivate a woman effortlessly, cultivate your presence. The calmer and more self-assured you appear, the more magnetic your words become when you finally speak. 4. Women cannot resist a man who can leave at any moment. If you want to touch a woman deeply, do not chase her. Make her feel that you could walk away at any moment and still sleep peacefully that night. Because at her core, a woman's greatest emotional trigger is not desire, it is loss. She doesn't fear a man's anger, nor his silence, she fears his absence. This is not cruelty, it is the most primal psychological truth. What we can lose becomes infinitely more valuable. In behavioral psychology, this is called loss aversion, the human tendency to feel the pain of losing twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining. For a woman, this operates subconsciously in attraction. The moment she senses that your presence is guaranteed, her nervous system stops responding to it. Predictability breeds emotional numbness, but when she feels you could vanish, that your time, attention, and energy are earned, not owned, her mind begins to spiral around you. She starts imagining life without your energy, the silence, the void, the absence of your grounding presence, and that fear quietly transforms into fascination, because every woman secretly craves the man who could leave but chooses to stay. Now understand this paradox. Most men lose power the moment they sense emotional distance. She pulls away and they panic. They text more, explain more, beg to be understood. They trade respect for reassurance, but in doing so, they reveal the deepest weakness. Their identity depends on her response. Women don't test you to destroy you, they test you to locate your center. When she withdraws affection, she's not asking, "Will you chase me?" She's silently asking, "Will you remain yourself when I disappear?" If you crumble, she knows your strength was a mask. But if you stay calm, grounded, self-contained, she feels something ancient awaken inside her. It's admiration, it's awe. This is what Stoics called apatheia. Not apathy, but freedom from emotional enslavement. To act with reason even when emotion tempts you to react. To remain centered when others use chaos as control. A man who can walk away doesn't do it to punish her. He does it because his dignity is not negotiable. He has mastered the art of non-attachment, the ability to love fully without losing himself. In Buddhism, this is the balance between compassion and detachment, the ability to hold beauty without clinging to it. When a woman feels that kind of power, her perception of you changes entirely. You stop being the man who needs her. You become the man she could lose. And that shift rewires her entire emotional hierarchy. Because women don't value attention, they value selective attention. If your time is cheap, your presence loses weight. But if your attention feels sacred, given only to what aligns with your peace, she treats it like gold. You must understand, women are emotional economists. They intuitively measure your value not by what you give, but by what you withhold. A man who gives everything has nothing left to protect. A man who can leave at any moment, yet stays out of choice, becomes irresistible because his love feels earned, not owned. Psychologically, this is called intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that creates addiction. It's the unpredictability that keeps the mind chasing. When you stop overgiving, stop explaining, stop proving, you create space. And in that space, her imagination begins to work for you. This is not manipulation, it's alignment. When you no longer need her approval, your energy becomes pure. You stop leaking validation and start radiating presence. And the irony is, the less you need her, the more she needs your energy. The rule is simple but eternal. Be willing to walk away from anything that demands you abandon yourself. Because the man who can leave commands, and the man who can stay without attachment conquers. So let her feel your absence as clearly as your presence, not through silence meant to punish, but through a peace she cannot disturb. That peace, that inner independence, is the most intoxicating scent a man can carry. Because the man who doesn't chase doesn't lose women, he redefines their standard for men. 5. A man with a mission is her weakness. A woman's greatest weakness has never been a man's looks, wealth, or charm. It's his direction. His sense that he was born for something larger than pleasure, validation, or her approval, because purpose is the one thing a woman cannot fake, imitate, or replace. It's the essence of masculine gravity, the invisible field that pulls everything into orbit. A man with a mission doesn't chase. He moves, and the world rearranges itself around that movement. Women are instinctively drawn to this energy because, on a biological level, it signals evolutionary safety. A man guided by vision is predictable in the right way. His actions are anchored to meaning, not emotion. In contrast, the man without purpose floats through life, reacting, clinging, and collapsing under the weight of every emotional wave. He may have passion, but it burns without direction, like fire in an open field, destroying instead of illuminating. A woman can feel this difference instantly. When a man wakes up each morning with a reason that extends beyond her, she feels his emotional independence. And paradoxically, that independence makes her crave connection with him even more, because it touches something deep in her psychology, the need to follow strength, not rescue weakness. From an evolutionary perspective, women have always aligned themselves with the man who could shape reality, the hunter, the builder, the visionary. Not because she worships him, but because his stability gives her emotional permission to surrender. It's not submission to control, it's submission to direction. This is what Nietzsche called the will to power, the drive to expand, to overcome, to bring form out of chaos. A woman feels this will not in your words, but in your rhythm. How you move through failure, how you rebuild, how you keep your eyes fixed on the horizon while others complain about the storm. That rhythm is masculine divinity in motion. Jung would say, this is the man who has individuated, who no longer lives for approval, but for meaning. He has faced his shadow and discovered his own moral law. To a woman, this kind of man doesn't feel human. He feels inevitable. Because while other men bend to circumstance, he bends circumstance to his will. Now here's the paradox most men never understand. When you make her your mission, you kill her attraction. When you make your mission your core, you ignite hers. A woman doesn't want to be the center of your world. She wants to be invited into a world already in motion. If you build that world with discipline and conviction, she'll feel honored just to be near it. But if you orbit around her, she'll eventually crave the man whose gravity is stronger than hers. That's why the man with a mission doesn't wait for her messages. He doesn't drop everything when she calls. He doesn't abandon his path for emotional convenience. Because his loyalty is to something eternal, not fleeting affection. He's building, not begging. He's creating, not convincing. And that quiet certainty is what drives women insane. Understand this. Women don't fall for men who want them. They fall for men who want something more than them. Because in that something more, that purpose, that mountain, that vision, she sees the reflection of the masculine archetype her biology is wired to follow. When she meets such a man, her instinct doesn't say, he's attractive. It says, if I follow him, I will grow. That's the primal alchemy of attraction, transformation through leadership. Ask yourself, what are you building that would exist even if she left? What dream still wakes you up at 3 a.m.? If you have none, you are already replaceable. Because women don't abandon men who are climbing. They abandon men who have stopped moving. And once you understand this, you'll stop chasing love and start cultivating power. You'll realize that the rarest form of attraction is not physical or emotional, it's spiritual. It's when your path becomes so radiant that she wants to walk beside you, not because you need her, but because your light makes her remember the part of herself that longs to rise. That's the secret. The man with a mission doesn't ask for devotion, he inspires it. 6. The paradox of controlled vulnerability. Vulnerability is a double-edged sword. Too much and you seem weak, too little and you seem unreachable. Women are not drawn to men who hide their emotions, nor to those who drown in them. They are drawn to men who govern them, who can reveal their heart without collapsing into it. A common modern illusion is that emotional openness means complete exposure. That's false. Women don't want to mother your chaos. They want to feel your humanity under control. True connection begins when a man speaks from clarity, not confusion. You acknowledge your emotions, but they don't dictate your behavior. You speak of your past pain, but only after it's been transformed into wisdom. You share your world piece by piece, never as an emotional outburst, always as a choice. A controlled man creates tension without trying, because when he finally opens up, it feels earned. She senses his discipline, that he could have stayed silent yet chose to let her in. That decision carries weight, and that weight turns vulnerability into power. But when a man overshares, venting, seeking comfort, or demanding constant reassurance, he unconsciously places her above him. His emotions stop being depth and start being dependence, and that dependence quietly kills attraction. A man's emotions should be like the ocean, visible but never violent. You can feel its power, but you respect its stillness. Women are drawn to men who can be soft without losing their edge, men whose openness feels like strength, not surrender. Because real vulnerability is not the absence of control, it's mastery in motion. 7. Women are programmed to test your strength. Most men never realize how often women test them. These tests aren't malicious, they're instinctive. A woman's subconscious constantly searches for evidence of your stability, self-control, and strength. She'll question your opinions to see if you bend. She'll provoke small arguments to measure your composure. She'll act indifferent to test whether you'll chase validation. None of this is random. It's the ancient female radar scanning for emotional dominance. If you crumble under pressure, she feels unsafe. If you react impulsively, she senses weakness. And attraction fades. Not because she dislikes you, but because your energy stops making her feel protected. The secret is simple: stay unshaken. When she tests you, do not explain, plead, or react. Breathe, observe, smile if needed. Respond with calm firmness, never anger. If she withdraws, let her. If she returns, welcome her without punishment. Her tests are not attacks. They are gateways to deeper trust. When you pass them, she feels she can finally relax in your presence. And remember, women don't test men they don't like. Testing means curiosity. It means she sees potential. The danger lies not in the test itself, but in failing it emotionally. A man who remains calm under tension becomes magnetic, because calmness, to a woman, feels like power. 8. Confidence in the face of rejection. Most men fear rejection because they confuse it with failure. But rejection is not the end. It's the proof of self-worth. It shows you're acting from choice, not desperation. Women are acutely tuned to how men handle rejection. When you stay composed, smile, and walk away, you display abundant psychology, the belief that nothing you lose defines you. That confidence registers deeper than any clever line ever could. Desperate men chase because they believe they have no options. Grounded men simply continue because they know they are the option. The moment she senses you don't need her approval, her perception of you changes. You stop being one of many, you become the rare one who cannot be emotionally bought. If she says no, say, "No problem, I wish you well." No bitterness, no flattery, just clean detachment. That quiet dignity disarms her. Because rejection only hurts those who build their identity on external validation. Confidence, on the other hand, cannot be rejected. It's self-contained, untouchable, radiant. When you stop seeking permission to feel valuable, you become the prize. And soon, even those who dismissed you will start chasing the calm they once ignored. 9. Women become obsessed with men who are hard to understand. When a woman always knows how you feel, she stops wondering. And when she stops wondering, she stops desiring. Curiosity is the engine of attraction. Mystery makes her imagination do the work for you. This doesn't mean manipulation, it means self-possession. You are selective with your words, deliberate with your emotions, intentional with your energy. You reveal yourself slowly, never all at once. Signs of overexposure are easy to spot: instant replies, constant reassurance, emotional oversharing. Each one kills intrigue, because transparency without restraint removes tension, and tension is the foundation of attraction. A valuable man doesn't hide, he simply doesn't explain himself to be understood. He moves at his own rhythm, creating an aura of subtle unpredictability. She never quite knows what he's thinking, and that keeps her thinking of him. It's not mystery for ego's sake, it's the maintenance of selfhood. When she can't fully decode you, She feels both challenged and alive. Her emotions awaken in the space your silence creates. Remember, it's not what you show that draws her in. It's what you withhold just enough to keep her imagination alive. Because desire isn't built on information, it's built on wonder. Don't chase pleasure. Chase mastery. Subscribe and keep walking the dark path.